A New Frontier of Pleasure, a short story by MessyWolfie. Max had always dreamed of taking his experiences to the next level, pushing the boundaries of his desires and fantasies. So when he heard about the new virtual reality (VR) experience designed specifically for enthusiasts like him, he couldn't resist. The program promised an immersive experience that combined visual art with physical sensation, tailored to his deepest cravings. The VR studio was tucked away in a discreet part of town, its entrance marked by an unassuming sign. Max's heart raced as he stepped inside, greeted by a friendly attendant who guided him through the sign-up process. He couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. After a brief orientation, Max was led to a private room equipped with state-of-the-art VR technology. The centerpiece was a sleek, comfortable chair with various attachments and controls. The attendant explained how everything worked, emphasizing the customizable nature of the experience. "Are you ready, Max?" the attendant asked with a knowing smile. Max nodded, feeling a rush of adrenaline. He settled into the chair, the soft padding molding to his body. The attendant helped him put on the VR headset, and soon Max was transported to a beautifully rendered virtual environment. The visuals were stunning, filled with vibrant colors and intricate details, all centered around his favorite furry scat art. As he adjusted to the virtual world, he noticed the soft hum of the machinery around him. A gentle voice guided him through the process, explaining how the sensory enhancements worked. The chair reclined slightly, and he felt a warm, flexible tube being gently secured to his mouth. The warmth and softness of the tube were surprisingly comforting. Additionally, smaller hoses were attached to his nostrils, ready to deliver the perfect blend of drugs to enhance his experience. "Enjoy your experience, Max," the voice said soothingly. And with that, the program began. The first image appeared before him, a masterpiece of furry scat art. The details were vivid, almost lifelike, and Max felt a thrill of recognition. As he admired the artwork, he felt the tube gently activate, delivering a warm, thick substance into his mouth. Simultaneously, a dose of poppers was administered through the nasal hoses, making it easier and even more enjoyable to swallow the feces. The taste was familiar, earthy and intense, just as he loved it. The sensation was overwhelming, a perfect blend of his favorite tastes and the stunning visuals. Each swallow brought a rush of pleasure, the warmth spreading through his body and filling his gut with a comforting heaviness. The feeling of fullness in his stomach was intensely satisfying, making him feel all warm and cozy inside. The methamphetamine coursing through his system kept him hyper-focused and hyper-aroused, heightening every sensation and making him crave more. Max lost himself in the experience, each new piece of art more captivating than the last. The sensation of the warmed feces being fed to him through the tube was a constant, comforting presence, heightening his arousal and satisfaction. He felt completely immersed, his senses overloaded in the best possible way. Cannabis vapor and oils were also administered, mitigating any potential stomach upset or dysphoria. The combination of drugs kept him in a perfect state of balance, deeply immersed in his desires. Time seemed to blur as Max enjoyed the seamless integration of visual and physical pleasure. The VR world adapted to his desires, presenting him with scenes that pushed his boundaries and deepened his satisfaction. The fullness in his stomach grew, a comforting weight that made him feel completely content and at peace. He was also wearing a diaper, the caretakers of the facility changing it as needed, though often leaving it for extended periods, adding another layer of sensation and dependency. This was his reality now, a continuous loop of pleasure and satisfaction. When the session paused, it was only for brief moments of rest. Sedatives were administered to ensure he slept right therein. his bed, armchair, waking refreshed and ready to continue. The cycle was unending, each day blending into the next in a haze of ecstasy and fulfillment. As the hours turned into days, Max's sense of time faded. The outside world became a distant memory, replaced by the constant cycle of warmth, fullness, and visual delight. He was content, even as a small part of him wondered if he would ever leave this virtual paradise. Unbeknownst to Max, all his soiled diapers were being dropped into a pit below him. After 3 weeks went by, the platform and machine that he was attached to began to lower slowly into the pit. The warm, feces-filled air became even thicker, and the machinery hummed as it descended deeper. The VR continued to provide its endless stream of pleasure, keeping Max in a state of blissful ignorance. The drugs kept him calm, focused, and content, even as the environment around him changed. Eventually, the platform settled at the bottom of the pit, surrounded by the accumulated waste. The facility staff, having fulfilled their part, abandoned him there, leaving Max in his perpetual state of euphoria. The once comforting warmth now engulfed him entirely. The VR headset continued to display his favorite scenes, and the tubes kept feeding him, ensuring he felt no pain or discomfort. As the days passed, the pit began to fill with the very substance he craved. The feces rose higher, covering his legs, his torso, and eventually his chest, but Max, lost in the haze of drugs and pleasure, remained unaware. The poppers, methamphetamine, and cannabis kept him in a state of heightened euphoria, his mind floating in a sea of bliss. The feces continued to rise, covering his neck and eventually his face. Even as it enveloped him, Max felt only warmth and comfort. The drugs ensured that he experienced no fear, no pain, only a deep, all-encompassing pleasure. His last moments were filled with the sensations he loved, the taste and feel of the feces, the mesmerizing visuals of the VR, and the comforting embrace of the drugs. Max's consciousness faded into the drug-induced stupor, his body sinking deeper into the waste. In his mind, he was in heaven, surrounded by his fantasies, his desires fulfilled. He passed away peacefully, enveloped in warmth and pleasure, his fate sealed but his final moments blissfully content. In this dark twist, Max died a death that, within the confines of his desires and the controlled environment, could be considered happy. His last thoughts were of pleasure and fulfillment, ensuring that he passed away in a state of serene euphoria, unaware of the grim reality around him.